Hi, it's Maddie with the Anti-Alienation Project. Welcome back. Here I talk about all things related to a certain form of child psychological abuse that I went through for 20 years, starting at the age of 9, called parental alienation. What is parental alienation? This usually happens during a divorce or custody dispute, but not always. And it really involves one parent manipulating their child to reject their other parent without true justification. This is a loving parent who is being rejected by their child, sometimes for decades, sometimes for a lifetime. And it's all due to the influence and manipulation and brainwashing of their other parent. I've been speaking out about this for about 2 years. No, 2 years I learned the truth that I had been alienated from my dad for 20 years. Long time. And I've been speaking out against this abuse, rebuilding my relationship with my dad, and trying just to put this type of abuse on the public consciousness because it's so important to be able to move forward and create a wonderful life for yourself, to be able to know what you need to heal from. Kids deserve to live in reality. Today's video is going to be about isolation and control, specifically homeschooling. And I know that you might be thinking, what? Maddie, you've gone off the deep end. What does homeschooling have to do with anything? But I do see this quite often in people I talk to, and it's gotten to the point where I think it's worth doing a video on. It comes with a big disclaimer, and that is that homeschooling can be awesome. It can be great for a lot of families if it's done for the right reason. I have friends who homeschool their kids. I think it's great, and it definitely can benefit everyone involved if done for the right reasons. Do alienators homeschool their kids for the right reasons? No. Okay. So that's the disclaimer. I do not hate on homeschooling. I have considered homeschooling. I don't think I'm going to, but I have nothing against it. In fact, I think it can be really beneficial in certain situations. So please don't come after me for being a homeschool hater. I was homeschooled myself, so I'm not a homeschool hater. But when you have a parent who is pathological and alienator, there are a few reasons why alienators, I believe, are drawn to homeschooling. And I'm only speaking from my own experience here too, because I was homeschooled all throughout middle school. The timing of that is interesting as well, because I was put in a new school for third and fourth grade, and then I was pulled out for fifth to eighth grade to be homeschooled. The alienation also was solidified in fourth grade, and then I was pulled out to be homeschooled directly after the alienation was solidified. So I think there are a few reasons why alienators specifically are drawn to homeschooling. Number one, they want to control every bit of information that enters their child's mind. And they ideally want to be that source of information as much as possible. Imagine you've brainwashed your child to reject their other parent. You've brainwashed your child to believe their other parent is abusive, bad, doesn't love them, is crazy, unsafe, whatever it may be. And as the child gets older, I think a lot of these alienators start to get scared that their child is going to learn the truth or question things. And the more that the child is in society, the more that the child interacts with their peers, and perhaps even the more that the child is exposed to other adults who might question things in their family situation, those are all threats for the alienator, because that fear that they're going to be found out, it's amplified when the more and more people, as more and more people start to influence that child's life. So I think the idea of having your child at home with you most of their lives, filling their brain and their soul with whatever you want to fill it with, essentially having not only the parent responsibility, but the teacher responsibility, will be really appealing for a lot of alienators who are desperate and to control and isolate their child, who are obsessed with maintaining this long con and maintaining the disrupted relationship and maintaining and keeping the destruction of the child's other relationship with their other parent going to control and isolate them, for sure, as well as just because of their fear of being found out. It gets even darker than the surface level, which I just described. And I'm going to speak more from my own personal experience here. I mentioned I was homeschooled throughout middle school, and I would say that my mom did a decent job homeschooling my brothers, but for me, not so much. I was mostly in charge of my own schooling. So I would do my own reading or writing assignments. I would take my own tests, and then I would be the one grading my own tests and exams. And there wasn't really much impetus for me to study or learn because I knew that I was in charge of grading everything myself. But What I really want to talk about a little bit is a little bit about bringing it back to what I want to talk about for a moment, though, is the cult-like parenting style and how homeschooling can really be a tool that cult leader-like parents can use to further indoctrinate the children into this cult-like family system. So you have the BITE model that Dr. Stephen Hassan came up with, which is an acronym to describe how people are successfully indoctrinated into cults. So B is for behavioral, to control people's behaviors. I is for information, to control the information people have and the information they do not have. T, to control their thoughts. And E, to control their emotions. And all of these are achieved in different ways. One of the easiest ways would be like a Pavlovian training, like negative and positive consequences. Give a dog a treat every time he goes to the bathroom outside. Eventually he's potty trained. It's the same type of thing, but with alienators and their children. I'll give you a few examples from when I was homeschooled. It was like a freaking nightmare. It was not the time of my life. It was pretty much a nightmare being homeschooled. And because here's the thing, there was the homeschooling, there was the alienation, and then there was the religious extremism. So I was only allowed to have friends, two families who were extremely Catholic, and I was only allowed to see them when I did everything perfectly right in a day. So many days I never saw friends and I never interacted with my peers or anyone outside of my family because my mom was my teacher and my parent, and I was essentially at home all the time. If I didn't do everything she wanted or needed, or if I made her mad for whatever reason, there goes my ability to see my friends that day. Oh, there goes my ability to leave the house for a few days. It was almost like a prison. And then to top it off with that, I was struggling with an eating disorder because food and exercise was the only thing that I could control in my life. So it really was a perfect storm with the eating disorder. But for example, if I didn't eat all my meals, I wasn't allowed to leave the house. I wasn't allowed to see my friends. I wasn't allowed to go to volleyball practice. I wasn't allowed to do this or that. And as it was like a perfect storm because I was struggling mentally. And what would have helped me mentally would be to have more social support, to have a little space away from my family. But I would be punished for struggling mentally by losing those exact things that I needed as a preteen, a middle school girl. So it was rough. It was really rough. And my mom was like, I called her at the time food police because as the eating disorder got worse and worse, she became more and more controlling. And I was at home all the time being homeschooled. It was like a feeling of being suffocated. And so as it got worse and worse, she started taking me to more and more doctors. So it got to a point where I was going to a therapist, a nutritionist, a doctor, a psychiatrist every day. Like I would go to a doctor every single day of the week. So my mom, if you're getting a sense of what my life was like when I was homeschooled, basically it was like my mom was the dictator of my life and every waking moment of my life. It caused a lot of resentment. I became really mad, really resentful. And I took it out on myself. And case in point, so I don't want you to think I'm just bashing on homeschooling in this video for the sake of bashing on homeschooling. Absolutely not. But if you have a parent who's extremely controlling, manipulative, pathological, to allow them to homeschool their children, I think is a very risky move, very dangerous, potentially for the children's mental health, emotional health, very, very hard thing. It does, in my opinion, it really comes back to the parent's motive. Are you homeschooling your child to give them the best opportunities you can and because it's the best option for your child and your family, or are you homeschooling your child to control them, to isolate them, and to be the dictator of their life? Those are two very different motives. But for any parents out there watching, if your ex has started homeschooling your children, or if your ex has talked about wanting to homeschool your children, please think twice. Please think twice because it can be really harmful for children who are being abused to be with their abuser now 24/7. They can't even get away at school. That's my 2 cents in homeschooling. I'm not a fan. It wasn't working out for me, but I think if it's done for the right reasons, it can be great. I hope this makes sense. I know that it's a little bit different kind of video, but thanks for watching. Please give it a thumbs up to get it in the algorithm and subscribe to my channel. Make sure that your notifications are on. Otherwise, you won't get notified when I post a video. And let me know in your comments below. Were you homeschooled? Are your children homeschooled? What do you think about homeschooling when it comes to alienating parents? Yeah, it's a hard topic, but thanks for watching. I'll see you next one. Bye.